Okay, hello, hello. Hello and welcome to the Research Within podcast. I am your host, Anna Kay, and I am incredibly grateful that you are here for this episode. And yeah, in this podcast, we'll discover the resources that each one of us already has within to create the life of our dreams, filled with success, joy, happiness, love, and so much more. So let's dive into this episode. So, for this first episode of the podcast, what I wanted to do is I wanted to share my story and I wanted to share why this is the content I want to share with you guys. I wanted to explain and show you why I really deeply believe in my core that creating the life of your dreams is basically only up to you. So, I hope my story inspires you and kind of helps you understand that whatever your life is at, you have the power to take it back. You have the power to create the life that you want. Okay, so let's start. Where did I begin? Where did my story, or where I consider this journey, began for myself? So I was around 17 to 18 years old. And, since I started adolescence, I started having a lot of skin breakouts, so acne and all that type of stuff. And walking on my journey, I was normally a regular period. I normally had a regular period, so it was approximately 28 days, and it was always fairly good. However, I had this acne and I had a lot of mood dysregulations too. I would always be classified or known as the snappy child. So I would have this sudden anger surges that no one really would know where they come from. And it was just something that kind of came with the age, came with the change of hormones, but also just kind of appeared in my life. And it was not something I was quite 100% comfortable with. Who likes to just be snappy like that, right? Um, so at some point, around 17 or 18 years old, we had been adolescent for quite a while, and we've been having our period, and the acne and everything was still not amazing. So before this 17 to 18-year period, I would have tried a lot of things to work out the acne cause. I would have tried acupuncture. I tried homeopathic medicine too. I tried a lot of natural things, and I tried also just going with doctors, but no one could really tell me anything. So for the acne part, I just kind of said, okay, let's live with it, right? Um, and then what happened was that around 17, 18, my period just kind of missed a bit in the sense that it was not as structured as it usually was. To be fair, it is still the age where your period is adapting to the changes of life. But at that point, I did not know that. And, the people that guided me also did not know that. So I was like, okay, my period is not as regular as it always was since I started menstruation. What's up? So I remember my mom took me to a gynecologist, and I remember he kind of made a big deal out of it. He was like, yeah, it should be regular. This is not as it should be, just classifying it as wrong. And, as a child, you get scared. The mother also gets scared. And you're like, okay, then what's wrong? What can we do? Um, Next step, I got on hormonal birth control, not because I was active in my sexual life at that point, but because the doctor just said that hormonal birth control is actually the way to solve your period itches, right? It's the way to regulate your period. So I got in hormonal birth control because I actually had no other options at that point. And what happened when I got in this pill was that yes, my skin might have cleared out a bit. And yes, of course, my periods were regular because when you're on the pill, you actually don't have a period. It's just abstinence bleeding. I can explain more about that in another episode. But um, my mood, my mood got so much worse. I was hating everything about everyone. Like, I remember, and I specifically have this one day imprinted in my mind. I remember there was this one time that I just woke up and straight up I was angry. No cause, no reason. I was angry as fuck. And I remember I got angry because I woke up angry. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, what is going on? Why am I so fucking angry that they haven't even started yet? I remember going just to the floor of my room and started crying because what is this? And of course, when you're taking hormonal birth control, you're messing a lot with your hormones, and hormones have a really, really big impact on your overall health and on your mood. So at this point, I was really just not so happy because the mood disturbances that came with taking the pill were really, really big. Fast forward a little bit, and the acne was still there, and got diagnosed with PCOS. So for the people that don't know that, it's polycystic ovary syndrome. Um, there's a lot of hypothesized causes, might have to do with insulin, might have to do with estrogen dominance, many hormonal causes that might be possible for PCOS. And as soon as I got that, I was still taking the pill, and the doctors, the endocrinologist, because I told my mom I'm not taking more pills if I don't see a person that is actually specialized in hormones. And I saw a person, and they gave me more pills. So I ended up taking not only hormonal birth control, but I was also taking metformin for technically, quote unquote, my insulin resistance. And I was taking lots of bunch of pills, and it was still not getting better. It was still not getting better. Went to another doctor, went to another doctor, and it was just really not getting better. And, we were puzzled. So at the end, we decided to go with this one last doctor. This doctor gave me a cocktail of pills. I was taking hormonal birth control, metformin, cortisol, and I think Aldactone, two more. I was taking way too many pills. And okay, he said, try this. I was not happy because I don't enjoy just taking pills to patch stuff like this. I'm not a believer that, health is always dependent on some external stuff. Um, so I said, okay, I'm gonna try it out because we have tried so many things and nothing works, and we'll see how it goes. Tried it out for 3 months, and we went back to the doctor. The doctor said, well, it's getting better. We're working. We're getting there. Great. And then I asked him because it was a lot of pills I had to take every single fucking day. So I asked the doctor, sir, for how long do I have to take these pills so I can stop them? So I will be able to stop taking these pills. He looked at me and he was like, well, you know, so unless you get pregnant, you're gonna have to take these pills forever. I remember the feeling, oh, it's coming back. I remember the feeling in my body when I heard that. I remember I just wanted to cry. I remember it was such a disempowering moment for me because he basically said, you have no choice. You have no other option. Either you get pregnant or you take these pills forever. And I told him, I don't want to take these pills forever. I don't want this. And he said, oh my God. And he said, I cannot believe he said this to me. And he said, well, if you don't take these pills, if you don't continue this, then, you're gonna start growing a beard. And he said this scary, pointless shit about how, I was gonna just start growing body hair and all this bullshit. I have no other word but bullshit. So you can imagine how I went out of that consultation. I was told that I had no choice. I was told that I had to either get pregnant or take the pills forever. And if I did not want to do any of those and I stopped the pills, that I would basically become a man. That's basically what he said. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. Of course, not like literally, but he did say that, my voice was gone. No, honestly, he said so many. I don't even want to repeat what he said because he said just so many fucking shit. And I'm not gonna repeat that. But I went out of this consultation. I was in with my mom. I remember that she went into the consultation with me. I got out. My dad was outside waiting for us. And I remember I saw my dad. He asked me how it went. And I just started crying. I just started crying. Oh, I'm remembering the feeling. It's not cool. I started crying and really I was hopeless. That's the word. I was hopeless. I had no hope. I told my dad everything that the doctor had said. I was really crying. I was pouring tears out of my eyes, rivers, oceans. I was really sad, hopeless. I had no sense of choice. I remember going out of that consultation and saying, fuck this shit. Fuck this shit. I am not taking this. So I ended up just, you know, telling my mom and my dad, I'm not taking these pills anymore. I have to stop this. Like I'm definitely not doing this anymore. And of course they could not force me. I remember my mom got angry with me. But my dad was like kind of okay, it's your choice. You're a grown woman and you can choose for yourself. And I remember that feeling of desperation, of hopelessness was really my turning point. It was really the thing that made me decide that I was not going to stay stuck there. Fuck that shit. I was not going to stay there. I was not going to accept that as my future. I was just not. That was not my future. That is not my future. No, I was not going to take that. I was not going to fucking take that. No. Oh, I took this into my own hands. After this consultation, I got so many books. If you're actually seeing the video, watching the YouTube, I can actually show you. I got so many. Look, I got so many books just everywhere. So many books about women's cycle. I heard so many audiobooks. I got so many, you know, I read so many papers about the influence of nutrition over your period, nutrition over acne, inflammation, bodily inflammation. I read so much. I heard podcasts. I went into the Medium. I started to chart my cycle. If you don't know what cycle charting is basically you take your temperature. That's not a specific option, but you take your temperature and read other bodily signs like cervical mucus and stuff to understand your cycle, understand where you're at, and if it's healthy, if it might need a bit more enhancing. I started to chart my cycle. I went with a certified trainer to learn how to do that, to learn how to chart my cycle properly. And I was doing all this stuff. I was doing so much because I was not about to accept that as my reality. I I read books, and I remember that when I was reading all those books, I was getting so inspired because it's not only me. Unfortunately, it's many, many women that go through this same fucking process where they are told that they have no other choice, where they are told that that's the only option. But it's not. It's really not. And I don't say it because it's myself. I know it because in the literature, there has been many women that had just advanced forward outside of conventional medicine. I learned about nutrition, about how to cycle your life around your own feminine cycle. I learned how to, as I said, chart my cycle, check where it is, how is it doing. And I've learned also some limiting beliefs that I had from childhood that would also impact my vision of self. And if you don't know how powerful the mind is, you might not know this, but the impact of your vision of yourself that you learned in childhood has a deep, deep, deep impact on your health. So I had to also go back in time into my childhood to see what the hell was I believing in myself and why my body was doing this. Now, I did not only read and research extensively about this topic, but I implemented it. I made a plan. I started to change my nutrition. I started to change my movement. I started to just change my life in general, trying to bring a bit more of energy, of feminine energy into my life, leaving behind a bit of the masculine energy. I was implementing every single thing that I learned from the books, that I learned from the podcast, that I learned from the experience of other people, because I was not about to accept this. And I'm gonna repeat it again, I was not about to accept this as my reality. I was just not. And I did it. I did it alone. I did it blindly. I did not know if it was gonna work, but I had to try. I had to try it. If you don't try, you lost already. If you don't try it, you lost already. Yeah. So fast forward now. Oh, I'm getting emotional. So we're gonna fast forward to 1 year after I started to do this, to perform this in my own life, to work on myself, and to take my life into my own hands. My skin cleared up. The acne is definitely gone, or mostly gone. It sometimes might come back in times of stress or emotional dysregulation, but the baseline is definitely, the acne is definitely not as it was before. My menstrual cycle is beautifully regular and beautifully healthy. My temperatures in the morning are amazing. Uh, my moods are just another thing. There's no snappiness. There's no discontrol. I understand where my moods come from and I can work from there. And I feel better than I have ever felt. And I'm telling you this from, the subjective side, but I will also give you objective proof. I went to the gynecologist almost 1 year after I started this protocol. And girl, when she asked me about my history, and I told her, I got this diagnosis a couple of years ago, and etc. etc. I told her how everything was doing. She looked at my face, she looked at my body. She was like, okay, I mean, it does not seem like it, but we can check it, with the ultrasound. I was going to do a general check, so, and then she did the ultrasound, and she was like, well, if you got that diagnosis, I mean, it's okay, but there you have nothing. You said you have nothing. Your ovaries are perfectly healthy. She said you had nothing. And actually, it was fun that time because I went to the consultation, and since I know I chart my cycle and I know exactly where I am, I knew I was about to ovulate, and I told her, I'm about to ovulate, and she was like, yeah, okay, we'll see. And then when she was doing the ultrasound, she was like, yeah, okay, you're ovulating. So I was like, yeah, I know. So that's the power, or just knowing your body, of knowing yourself. And girl, when I'm telling you that I went to that consultation with no expectations and went out with the gynecologist telling me that I had nothing. I had nothing in my ovaries. She could diagnose nothing. She could see no PCOS. She just could not. Oh, and this is so beautiful because it reminds me of what I was capable of doing, of where you can get if you have this drive, if you have the motivation, the discipline to get to the point you want to get. If you don't want to accept your present reality as your reality, then what are you going to do to get to where you want to go? Oh, and I get so inspired because this is something really close to my heart. This is really something really close to my heart. And I don't want you to get caught up in the specifics. One day I will talk more specifically about everything I did. But I don't want you to get caught up in, the PCOS, the protocols, the nutrition. What I want you to take away from my story, what I want you to understand, the message that I want you to take home back with you is that you and only you have the power to change your reality. You have the power to change your reality. You have the power to improve your health. You have the power to improve your relationships, your job, your life, any area of your life you want to improve. It's only you that has the power to change it, to do it, and to get better. Only you. It's only you. You just have to make the choice. You just have to choose that the present reality you're living in is not the reality that you're willing to accept for yourself. You just have to choose that the reality that you want is in another level and that you can do stuff to get to that level. You can. You just have to find your way. It might be hard. Yeah, it might. It might. But you're going to get out of where you are now. It might be hard. You have to research. Yeah, maybe. But you're not staying stuck in a place where you're uncomfortable. You're looking for that better place for yourself. And that's the message I want you to take home from this story. That's the message that I want you to have. Okay. So if you'd like to talk more about this topic, about my story, about whatever, anything we commented on today's episode, just feel free to reach out on my Instagram. I'm gonna list it on the show notes below. And we can have a chat. Just reach out and we can talk. I will also leave on the show notes a link to download my guided meditation that will take you from feeling hopeless and disempowered to empowered and ready to take action in your life. So go snatch that meditation. It's completely free and start doing it. Start doing it and you're going to see change in your life and you're going to become inspired to create the life that you deserve. Okay. It has been a greatest pleasure to have you here with me for this episode. I hope that you enjoyed, that you learned something super valuable. And I see you around on my Instagram on the next podcast episode. I'll be seeing you here. Okay. Bye-bye.